And you're welcome back to the Web Summit, where we're joined by Web Summit co-founder Daire Hickey. Thank you very much for talking to us on the programme, Daire. I should say that we had expected to speak to Paddy Cosgrave. He pulled out just before we came on air. It's been a fairly testy day from Web Summit management today, hasn't it?
Well, I think what you heard from Paddy this morning was some frustration, you know, over, I guess, why and some of the reasons that we had to move to Lisbon. I guess if we had a choice, we'd love to keep the Web Summit in Ireland. And some of those, you know, reasons are really simple things like traffic management and things like that. We wanted to give
and I'll get onto that in just a minute, but I have to ask you, why is it not rather pointless to engage in this kind of bitter, broad, side at this point? Why not let bygones be bygones? The government have congratulated you, they've wished you well. Why not move on and not burn
I think
bridges?
he was asked a series of questions, and I think, you know, he was asked to go over old ground and cover that. And I think what you saw is an entrepreneur who cares incredibly about his product and cares incredibly about the experience that they have. We're bringing in over 30,000 people internationally into Ireland. So hosting those people
obviously doesn't care enough to want to continue to base the Web Summit here in Dublin.
No, I think what he does care about is all of the people that come here, and I think, you know, they've had some difficult experiences. Traffic management is one of the problems. Hotel prices is another problem that we indicate. So, you know, we outlined those problems over the last few years
and
to the government. Absolutely.
Can I ask you about that traffic management? Did the Web Summit ever offer to pay for traffic calming measures, pay for Garda resources, pay for the outriders to accompany your VIPs?
Yeah, I think what we were asked for is the greatest possible wish list of everything that we could possibly want to make things better for the Web Summit. So that's what was disclosed in the documentation. It was the start of a conversation. I think what you saw as well in that conversation is...
Did you attempt to pay for those resources that would have enabled Garda to put traffic management in place?
I mean, the conversation never got that far, and I think what you saw in, say, the documents that we released is that we didn't even see the government getting back to us on those.
Okay, so but you never moved on that unilaterally?
We proposed a number of different ideas. We actually said, and they've given us over the last few years, and they've sponsored the event and become a partner, like many different people, about $750,000 over the last kind of 4 years in sponsorship.
Yeah, so that's taxpayers' money, EI money, Enterprise Ireland,
absolutely. Yeah, so we offered to just say that there was no need to give us that in the future. Instead, we could look at a couple of different things, give people kind of free buses and stuff like that. So the cost of doing that would be much lower than the sponsorship.
You weren't putting your hand in your own pocket and paying for that?
Well, that's the offer. That was a contra that was made. But
can I ask you about the hotels? Because something that was said at the time is, why were you contacting the Taoiseach in relation to hotel prices?
So the Taoiseach offered to... we said that these were some of the problems that we had. As he came down here last year, you know, he said, what can I do to help? And that's where the conversation started, and he offered to mediate. And that's why he became involved.
I think he offered to mediate. Did you ever initiate a conversation, say, with the Hotel Federation?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we voiced our frustrations, and I think you guys covered them last year. Lots of people covered those frustrations last year.
But you engaged directly with the Hotel Federation, did you?
We talked to various hotels. We expressed our frustrations with the specific hotels. We made our points last year very publicly about that. The media wrote about them. We made them to the government. We made them to various different departments. The Taoiseach then last year said, what can I do to help? We contacted his office. They arranged some meetings. They asked us for what we would like to do. We told them what we wanted. And ultimately that kind of came to nothing. So what we did then is that we went out to a bunch of different governments across Europe.
And they've made an attractive offer, one that you're prepared to leave Dublin and
well, it was never our intention, or we never wanted to leave Dublin in the first place. I mean, for us, we would much prefer to stay here.
But there was money on the table,
there was definitely money on the table, and we said very clearly, you know, in the few weeks before we made a decision, that we would be happy to forego any money, forego any of that, if you could simply come up with some traffic management problems and help us with hotels.
Help you with traffic. They're putting over $1 million on the table. Is that the case? The Lisbon government?
So the deal that Lisbon offered us, including ensuring that hotel prices remain incredibly low. You can book four nights in Lisbon for about €200 next year, which you can't get a night in Dublin in a hotel
and money
for.
On the table?
1.4 million is the amount of money that they've offered on the table. But again, we told the government that we'd be happy to forgo all of that if they would simply come back to us and give us a more compelling offer.
All right, well, we wish you well, Daire Hickey and the Web Summit. Thanks for talking to us on 6-1. Now, it's not all about the adults down here. There's also a schools project. 5 children from St Audien's National School in Dublin have been selected to unveil their big invention to delegates here later on. The Bully Bug is the latest wearable device, but with a very special purpose.